Hello, teen parents, and welcome to another video blog on sports psychology at Seattle Gymnastics Academy. My name is Tamara Bodie, and I'm the mental skills consultant for all four of the gyms here in Seattle. This last 2 weeks has been really great. We've been working on motivation. Last week we worked a lot out on the floor, so we did skip on the video because I wasn't able to come into the conference room. So on the floor, all the athletes layered on to what we've already learned about motivation by doing an activity. And the activity was all of the groups, they hold hands, all the kids in the group, and they jump up and down like little jumping beans. And I say jump in, they jump in, say jump out, they jump out, left is left, right is right. Now, and if any of these athletes make a mistake, then the whole team gets a penalty. So there is some motivation for them to really focus and stay on point. And with the older kids, I get a little bit more tricky and I play opposite. So forward is backwards, backwards is forwards, left is right, right is left. So you can see that this actually ends up being quite challenging depending on the age. Now what this is really teaching the children is fear of failure motivational style. We have need for achiever motivational style and we have a fear of failure motivational style. And both styles are equally as motivating, and it's really just depending on the athlete's perspective in that particular situation. So a need for achiever is someone who is really goal-oriented, they like to make plans, and they're always really just striving for the next thing. They're not as concerned with failure. They're more concerned about kind of keeping their eye on the prize. And for individuals who are need for achievers, goal setting is a really great way for them to create structure and follow that and feel successful. Whereas fear of failure is also a motivational style that totally is legitimate and works. A lot of people think, oh, fear of failure, you should never have that. And in our gym, we say, okay, fear of failure, it exists. And it's definitely a motivational style that athletes have, and let's use it to our advantage. So for fear of failure, that game was specifically designed to show the athletes that you can definitely be motivated by fear of failure. And we talked about healthy ways to create internal rules to give yourself structure and work with that motivational style. A lot of the kids will say, oh, I definitely have that. Like I always tell myself to study really hard so I don't fail a test. And that is kind of unavoidable. It's something that they do naturally. So we want to kind of build on that. And oftentimes with gym, they might say like, I really want to train hard so I get my best score at the meet and don't fall. So that might be a little bit of a mixture. So we work on kind of both of those sides. So that was last week. And this week, I'm really excited because we're doing a little bit more mindfulness and stress management along with the motivation. So we start off by watching a motivational video, which I will link. And it's really great because I've been talking to the children about motivational videos and what kind of motivational videos would be appropriate, what would they like best, and kind of giving them an example seems to be really helpful. We finish up the video and then we layer on to motivation by talking about ego orientation, style for motivation, and task orientation. So ego orientation is essentially saying that I, myself, ego means self, want to be another. So, giving the example of when I was a gymnast, I competed against another gal from Emerald City my whole career, and I just always wanted to beat her, especially when I was younger. So that was an ego-oriented goal. Whereas task orientation, we see a lot in gymnastics and everyday practice. So the kids were really familiar with being motivated to finish their assignments, being really thrilled that they can check off their to-do list and feeling accomplished and satisfied with that. So that would be more like task motivation, task mastery, and that does help a lot with overall motivation. It's just kind of putting those little pieces together so they're continually feeling an overall sense of motivation. The second little piece I put into this small session is stress management. And as you can see behind me, there's a quadrant. And I talk a lot with the athletes about helpful emotions and hurtful emotions. So we go over, low energy, helpful and hurtful emotions, and high energy, helpful and hurtful emotions. An example of high energy, helpful emotion would be joy, victory, courage. These are great things, and we see them in gymnasts all the time. And, the kids will name off a few others. And so we get a kind of a sense of, that's definitely a high energy emotion. Helpful, low energy emotions might be relaxed, satisfied, proud. These emotions are really helpful maybe before a competition. Getting into kind of a low-key good mood is really important. Now we shift from that helpful emotional column over to the hurtful emotional column, and low-level hurtful emotions are things like low-level frustration, disappointment, being lonely or isolated from the team. So the children really get a sense of those are emotions that I sometimes experience, and now I recognize that they're not as helpful as I would like. High-level hurtful emotions are definitely the ones that we want to pin down. Scared, very anxious, hate, envy, those kind of emotions, anger, those kind of emotions will definitely, hurt the gymnast performance, but it will hurt them overall. So, especially what I've been doing with the younger children, but it definitely works with everyone, including adults. It's called the golden door. Now, with the golden door, it's a mindfulness technique and paired with a cognitive behavioral technique of reframing. So the children recognize, hey, I am in a hurtful place right now. I'm not being very kind to myself, and I understand that. So they're meant to imagine a golden door, and in this golden door is a key. They turn the key, open the door, and whatever they may need should be on the other side. Now this is a pretty interesting exercise, because often people will say, hey, I didn't know what I needed, but then I used the golden door, and then whatever I needed popped up. So that often happens. So for example, the kid might be feeling a little lonely or isolated from the team, and they might turn that key and a puppy opens up on the other side, or a big hug from mom opens up on the other side. And with gymnastics, we also see, they're stuck in a negative place with a particular skill. So they open the golden door, and perhaps they see themselves doing that skill perfectly on the other side. And this can actually be really powerful for the athletes, for both stress management and keeping themselves motivated, thinking that this shall pass. And the golden door really does serve as a way to get them out of that negative thinking. Because if they're thinking about the golden door, they're not thinking about or ruminating in those unhelpful emotions and thoughts. So that's essentially what we've been doing over the last 2 weeks. There are a few other changes that are happening with sports psychology. I am working as an employee for the gym as a coach, but I am now a contract worker. I own my own company, and I contract to Seattle Gymnastics Academy for the sports psychology. So you're soon going to see a new waiver form and maybe a little bit of an informational email attached to kind of give you guys a sense of that transition. Same hours, same thing. It's just the way Washington State laws are written, I can't technically be an employee. But Seattle Gymnastics Academy thinks that mental skills and sports psychology is really important for the gymnast. So they very generously provided me the time and paid for the sports psychology. And so it's not another additional expense for the gymnastics team. It's included in the Junior Olympic program here at Seattle Gymnastics Academy, which is awesome and totally cutting edge. And we're also happy that the company provides this service. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to text or email me. Thank you so much.